In this video, we're going to be doing a comparison of different economic ideas. So let's compare perfect competition with a monopoly. So perfect competition has many number of firms, identical products, and no barrier to entry. Marginal revenue equals demand equals price. Price is equal to MC. And your long run profit is going to be 0, which is also known as normal profit. You have allocative efficiency and you also have productive efficiency. You have high output. And you have a low price level. Now, what about when you have a monopoly? You have one firm. You have a unique product type. You have high barriers to entry. Your demand is downward sloping. Your marginal revenue is less than your demand. Your marginal revenue is equal to your marginal cost. Your price is greater than your marginal cost. Your long run profit can be equal to 0. No, I mean, it can be positive. In terms of efficiency, it's inefficient. And the output level, you have lower output level than you do when you have perfect competition. And you have high price level. So keep those in mind. Now, let's talk about some graph relationships. When you have demand, that's what your consumers pay. And it's going to be above your marginal revenue. Marginal revenue is your extra revenue. It's located below your demand. Your marginal cost is the cost of your last produced unit, and it intersects marginal revenue. Your ATC is your average total cost, and it's used for profit. Now, what is price discrimination? Price discrimination has 3 degrees. So, first degree is going to be you charge your max WTP. For example, you have auctions. You can just control. Now you have second degree, and this is based on quantity / version. For example, these are your bulk discounts, and your third degree is going to be based on groups or group. For example, these are your student discounts. When you have a low WTP, that's of course a low price. A high WTP means you have a high price. Now let's talk about your cost curve shifts. So if you increase your variable costs, as a result, you're going to see the following. You are going to see increase of MC, AVC, ATC, decrease variable costs, decrease MC, AVC, ATC, increase fixed costs, increase ATC, AFC, decrease fixed costs, decrease ATC, and AFC. So also remember, MC only changes with variable cost. Now, when you are in a short run state and you are a firm trying to make a decision, you follow these rules. When you have profit, this is going to be when you are currently having a price you're receiving that is greater than your average total cost to run. When you have a loss, but at this point you're producing at a loss, this is when your price is greater than your average variable costs. And you have a shutdown when your price is less than your average variable cost. And all these decisions, they apply to both monopoly and also perfect competition. So when do you have deadweight loss? Deadweight loss is when your quantity of your monopoly is less than your quantity that is efficient. And that missing trade is going to be considered your lost value. Now, how come monopolies exist? So our question is, what causes monopolies? Monopolies happen when you have resource control. Like, for example, let's use De Beers diamonds. Let's also use government, which is going to be when you have patents and when you have copyrights. And thirdly, when you have a natural monopoly. When you have a natural monopoly, this is going to mean you have, an example of that would be utilities, because naturally, like, they control all the electricity, for example. A utility, you kind of have to pay that, or water. You just got to pay it because you need it to live. Now, we can also talk about elasticity. So if your demand is elastic, that's going to be a low price. If you have a demand that is inelastic, that is a high price, because inelastic consumers, these consumers don't reduce Q much. So that causes your firms to charge more. Now, how do you examine a graph? your first step is you have to find when on your graph MR is equal to MC, and that's going to be your Q. Then you go up and you find your demand, that's P. Then you compare your P versus your ATC, and that will tell you if you have a profit/loss. And you can also compare your P versus MC. That will tell you what your efficiency is. And 5, you have to identify your deadweight loss.